At this point in time, we'll call the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee meeting to order. At this point in time, we ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have roll call.
Mr. Sims,
Here.
Ms. Fletcher, absent. Ms. White's excused. Mr. Paschal,
Present.
Ms. Webster, absent. Ms. Gilroy.
Here.
I believe it requires at least 4 of the board members, and being that there's only 3, I don't think we can have a vote on anything.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. All right, because I hear feedback, so hopefully you can hear it clear. So, so at this point in time, we cannot go ahead and ask for motions about the actual agenda. So we're going to go down to, because we're going to skip down to unfinished business, and unfinished business is item A is Friendships Park Special Need Playground status. So could we have an update from staff about that?
Yes. At the last meeting, towards the end of the meeting, somebody from the public mentioned the question as to why we were only considering Friendship Park. And because of that, one of the board members, I believe it was Ms. White, asked why the reason for it being at Friendship Park. And because of that, we thought to bring it back to the committee and ask for a more absolute positive direction as to whether it needs to be at Friendship Park. What does the committee, would like or consider about moving the ADA or the all-inclusive playground to another location now? But being that there isn't a quorum, I believe we can't move forward with this. We put the bid documents on hold because the location is very important. To be able to know the size, depending on the park, we would need to know the size, and in order for the bid documents to move forward, we would need to specify as part of the specs that we discussed at the last meeting,
Yes.
the size of what the playground would need to be. So that's the status of the all-inclusive playground.
Okay, so so that was the ADA part that was back here, and the actual, so where all the equipment was moved to some time ago, was that going to be the proposed park going forward, or was just the equipment was just donated to that area, or that group, the church? Did they ask? So I'm just saying, so when the church received input or put input towards the old equipment, so was that the plans going forward that could possibly be the location, the United Church of Sebastian for, or was that just their equipment that they was going to just try to get? So
the main reason why the Friendship Park was the location and the only location considered was because of the playground that used to be there, which used to be an ADA or an all-inclusive playground. That's the reason why Friendship Park was mainly considered, other than the fact that we have restrooms there It's a shaded park. We have the space available. We wouldn't have to invest in restrooms or more shade, et cetera. But
Okay.
mainly, it's because the ADA playground, which was donated to the church, used to be at Friendship Park. Now, it's not going to be in the same location because I believe there's going to be an evidence building
Yes.
constructed there. So that's why we decided, or staff had considered, moving it possibly to where the bocce ball courts are.
Okay, gotcha. So it's still going to remain here in this facility or Friendship Park with just with the bocce courts? Okay,
Well, that was going to be a question that staff was going to ask from the committee tonight, is the committee certain that we want it at Friendship Park or possibly consider other parks? And that's what, like I said, staff was going to ask of the committee tonight, but being that there's no quorum, I believe we're
Okay.
going to have to, discuss it at the next meeting.
okay. So that's understandable now. So so we don't have a quorum. So by that being so, we can just have this item added to the next meeting in June. Then we'll be able to go from there. But before we close this item out right now, like Greg, you have anything to say about this?
Yeah, the only other suggestion is if we could, in the time between this meeting and the next meeting, make some type of public notice, other than the meeting being broadcast to the community, if there was a way to put something out there that we're seeking input, which I think we mentioned last time, but now you get another 30 days between this meeting and the next meeting. Anybody interested in having input as to the location of an ADA park, the assumption is that, people who knew there was an ADA park, if they came here, you wouldn't be searching around because of the fact that it used to be located here and now it's across the street. So if you didn't know changes, you would be coming to Friendship Park and just see that it's there versus us now advertising of, is there a better place in the community, I think is the consideration.
And currently, is it advertisement about the movement from the old location to the
No,
new?
that just
Possible-
stemmed from the
possible-
last meeting of
possible.
that we should
Okay.
possibly go somewhere else.
Okay. Ms. Kilroy, was there any questions? Okay. And before we move on to our next item, we're going to ask anyone from the public would like to speak upon this topic right here before we move on. Is anyone from the public would like to talk about our item A? Because we cannot vote upon anything right now, but we would more than likely welcome input from the public if the public has anything to talk about item A. If it's not, then we're going to go ahead and move to our next unfinished business is the pickleball status. Can we have an update from that, from staff?
Certainly, the City Council approved to move forward with Task 2, or CSA 2, which was discussed here at the last Parks and Rec meeting. CSA 2 consists of the final design, the construction, and the permitting. The entire 8 pickleball courts, as we discussed, will be permitted, with 4 built now and the remaining 4 at a later time. For your information, council would still have to approve the bid for construction and award the resulting construction services agreement. So City Council, at the last City Council meeting, only approved CSA 2, which is the permitting and the final design of the project.
Kareem, was there any questions about anything?
Yeah, I have one question. As I understood it, we were approving the 4 on the permit and nothing more than that. So now it's approving 8?
We're only approving, or not we are, City Council approved the
Right.
permitting of 8, not the
Okay.
construction, only the permitting, the groundwork.
Right.
So that if in the future it's decided to continue and build the remaining 4, the groundwork is already laid.
they can do
Yes, the permitting has already been performed. It would just be a matter of constructing the remaining 4 courts.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Greg?
So, since the last meeting, I just want to put into the record, got lots of input from the public through emails and other people meeting on the street, pickleball advocates saying that they would really strongly like to see the city, as much as possible, try to move forward with 8 courts at the same time as opposed to 4. So on the CSA2 agreement, the fact that the groundwork is there for 8, since it hasn't gone out to bid, there's still room for public input and other aspects of people trying to see if at this time or like moving forward after the groundwork is completed, whether you could go back to city council or make anything else in order to see if 8 could go in, or is it basically get better language in around what does it mean at a later date? Because people are going to have questions and concerns about that. What is the time frame? And then some of the nuances between what was in the design and what people would be willing to give up. So for example, that was in the initial proposal were things like a gazebo and a water fountain, which at the time wasn't brought up. But when you look at the proximity to where there is a bathroom and already a refrigerated fountain for the tennis courts, that's really in close proximity to the courts that you wouldn't necessarily need to put the money in for another water fountain and gazebo. So those types of considerations, how would that fall into trying to make considerations for the public of wanting 4 versus 8, which I'm sure is going to be part of a topic of conversation for this evening, so let me bring it up proactively.
I believe the consensus was that we would move forward with the construction of the 4 courts, even possibly removing the fountain and or the pavilion. I believe the consensus was that even if it goes before, which it will, right, go before city council again for the approval of the bid construction, it's still going to be the 4 courts initially. And then thereafter, if, you know, depending on how it goes, depending on budget and other variables, then the other 4 will be, you know, possibly constructed in the future.
Okay, so another question off of that is, in putting it out to bid and seeing the considerations, would it be possible to look at and see the cost differential between, since construction things are going up, which we admitted, what the cost differential would be of bidding out 4 courts versus 8, making a decision based on the time frame of where we're at, say, starting construction in August of 2017, and the cost differential between 4 and 8 is a couple $100,000 versus where we see construction costs going down the road and putting that off to years, 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years later. It would be my suggestion that we at least consider the difference in cost of building all the way out and getting bulk rates on full build out versus, and compare that to 4 courts just to make a more educated decision.
Staff will certainly keep that in mind.
Okay. Also, like to piggyback on what Greg spoke about, did our council mention about when, or council stated that we're going to build the 4 courts now, and then in sometime in the future, but did they elaborate when that future time would be, or could it be a short future, could it be a long future, or?
That wasn't discussed.
Okay.
An approximate time or a time frame was not discussed as to the following 4 courts.
Okay. And yeah, I know that's a tough one because like, well, like again, we got to first see how it's going to be because, I mean, I'm kind of in agreement with having 8 courts at one time, but we just got like anything new, you want to try to get something, and then when you get something, then we can expound upon that, and then just be able to see like where it lies in the future. So I mean, I know as a group we would love to get 8, but as far as money, and it may not be feasible to get 8, but to get 4, that's bringing a whole new entity into the area, whereas we don't have anything right now before. So I'm kind of in agreement with that. So I know we can't vote about anything, but I think as an actual citizen, it's good to get something as opposed to not having nothing at all. So I can't speak for the whole entire city of Sebastian, but like it's gonna be nice to see it when it does start. So at this point in time, we're gonna close this portion of our meeting. I'm gonna receive citizen input about the pickleball status. So if anyone want to speak about the pickleball status, when you come to the podium, please state your name and your address.
Ben Hawker, City of Sebastian. The pickleball, the summertime, the past 2 weekends, I've traveled through where we have tennis courts already. Example, Schumann. Nobody's there. We're talking snowbirds, and we're talking heat. Snowbirds are gone, our parks are empty. There's nobody playing pickleball there. There was one couple playing tennis on the Saturday and Sunday. It's a big investment. It's close to $800,000. And I had a question to the city council. You two or three might want to look up 2 of our city ordinances relating to the impact fees, because our community, I brought this up at the council meeting, our community is divided into 4 sectors. Out of those 4 sectors, that's where the funding of new homes for recreational funding comes from. And it states, you can go to this one here, section 7455, which speaks to the use of fees paid for recreation. And it states in here, they're paid for, the city shall maintain records, etc. The funds collected from any development shall be used only to acquire, construct, or provide recreational improvements or facilities, but may not be used on a neighborhood park facility located in a different recreation zone. Our city has slowly proceeded to use those funds under the term recreational. I believe it was recreational. A lawyer sitting on the council, Mr. Hill, used the term regional park. I couldn't find anything that defined that in our codes anywhere. But if you look at what they're taking for the pickleball from the 4 zones, A, they're taking $131,000. B, $7,000. C, I don't know why there's nothing in C. Maybe it's a C. Didn't go that far into it. And Zone D, $131,000, for a total of $350,000, which Zone A, to take care of their parks or improve their parks or buy another little piece of land and put in a pocket park, they're taking $131,000 from the recreation allocated monies.
You have 30 seconds, sir.
Okay. You got Barber Street Equipment Building. They're taking $100,000 from 4 of our sectors. Barber Street Netting, $14,000. Cavcore parking lot for the landscaping, which is, it looks like $32,000. What I'm saying is, we have funds. The monies are there. I paid for it, or somebody, whoever built my home initially.
Yes, sir.
I've got a park in my area. I've seen nothing in 10 years of this park changing, doing anything. But there's a lot of funding here. How they're taking this money and moving it around, I don't know. And I've had a few people looking into it to see maybe. Nobody can give me a straight answer. How they're taking all this funding and just moving it around. I mean, grass at the park down on, the waterfront should have been in the bid. Not just the blacktop. They forgot to put the grass in. They forgot to put in the curbing and the crosswalks. Yeah, we got a great deal on it. From $500,000, we only paid $200,000 for the blacktop. Nobody added up all the other incidentals. We could have done that 3 years ago.
Yes, sir.
Spent that
We
money.
understand. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else from the public who would like to have input on the pickleball courts? Okay. Seeming there's no one, we're going to... Okay, Corinne. Well, at this point in time, the input for this public is closed, and we're going to move on to our next item. You go,
Okay.
Corinne.
Yes. There's a section underneath the city code compliance in section 7455. I happen to have it. And that I was concerned with this very thing that the previous speaker mentioned. And it's talking about the distribution of funds from all of the different zones and so on. And he read it already. I'm not going to bother with that. But What I would like to know is it's ordinance number 01-15, Chapter 74. This is all just for the record. And it's use of fees, second and third sentence, specifically outlining the funds collection and the different allocations. So what my question is, and I don't think the attorney's here today, but my question was, Friendship Park and the pickleball perspective and the financial distribution, is the recreation impact report in the compliance with this section of the city code ordinance, or should it very well be amended? I don't know, I'm not the attorney, but I've given a copy to Ms. Hernandez, and I think they'll pass it on, and we'll get an answer on that. And that's all I had to say. Thank
Okay.
you.
At this point in time, we're going to move to our next item, it's item C, and it's about the recreational impact fees. And could we have an update with that from staff?
Yes, there was a question at the last meeting about the barber sport netting in the amount of $14,875. This was budgeted for fiscal year 2015, 2016. Staff has been advised by the Finance Department that this project was completed and paid for in 2016. So staff just wanted to clarify that those $14,875 were utilized and paid for.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Would the public like to have input about that? Okay. Not seeing no one, so we're going to move on to item D. The item D is going to be the playground inspection. It took place on May 10th. Well, not inspection took place May 10th, but the playground inspection. Can we have the staff speak upon that as well?
Yes, during the last City Council meeting on May 10th, City Council approved to proceed with the playground inspections and to select Playground Guardian as being the company to perform these inspections. These inspections, I just heard this morning from the Playground Guardian that they will be taking place on June 12th. They will be it'll take approximately 3 days to perform the inspections of all the playgrounds. So between June 12th and June 14th, these will be performed, and staff will report back to the committee the results once we receive them.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Any questions? Corinne or Greg, about that?
And that's in a report that becomes property for the city and to use for purposes going forward, and of other things with the park, as we said, as far as like trying to, other ADA considerations and different things is in their report, correct?
Yes, they will be inspecting for the ADA.
Okay, our next item of business is new business number 7, and it's item A, the dog park status.
Yes, as an FYI for the committee, on May 1st, there have been some changes at the dog park. Mainly the changes are that now the visitors cannot leave their chairs behind, or any personal property for that matter. In the past, they were able to leave them there and people could use them. They were just there. Recently, specifically on May 1st, the city put up signs at the dog park that state, please remove all personal property when leaving the dog park. On May 15th, which was last Monday, personal chairs were removed from the dog park. Later in the week, I believe it was Thursday or Friday, dog bowls, personal bowls from other people, not the city's property, were also removed, including a couple of pools filled with water, I'm assuming, that were also not property of the city. Unfortunately, the city does not have any record or control over these chairs or any other personal property. We wish we could, but we don't. We don't have the resources to keep record of them, to have control over them. We don't know the condition of each of these chairs. if somebody was to use somebody else's chair that doesn't belong to the city and fall, that automatically becomes a liability for the city. With that being said, it doesn't mean that visitors cannot bring their chairs with them. By all means, they are more than welcome to bring their chair. They are more than welcome to sit and enjoy their chairs, carry a bowl for their dog if they feel that their dog is going to need water. By all means, they are more than welcome to do so. All the city is asking and all staff is asking is that they please take with them their personal belongings. This way, everybody is in control over their own property. Furthermore, staff is reviewing rules for the dog park to prevent conflict, not only between the canines, but also between the humans. Okay. So in additions with new signage may be forthcoming. This is another FYI. I don't know if you were aware, but recently too, the park is closing now on Wednesdays, I believe, from 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. This is so that city personnel could come in and perform maintenance on the park. And another thing is that we have a suggestion box, because after these changes took place, I've been hearing from the visitors, I've been receiving the phone calls, having people come in, and in speaking with the Public Works Director, he asked that I please announce that we have a suggestion box that we ask that is also taken advantage of. People, if they have a suggestion, I mean, they're at the park maybe more time than we are. So if they have any suggestions, that they keep this suggestion box in mind. The Public Works Director asked that I announce that while we may not be able to fulfill all of the suggestions, right, because we can't, but we will at least try to accommodate and block off either a morning, an afternoon, depending on how many we are able to fulfill. We will block off so that we can go out and make the necessary and realistic changes accordingly.
Okay. So we'll start with Corinne. Do you have any questions regarding that? No, I don't. Greg?
Nope.
Okay. And I mean, everything you said is self-explanatory, because I can just think about items being left abroad when a storm, if we're in Florida, we have lots of storms coming up, and those things that's not securely fastened in a park, they can become missiles, rockets, and everything. And so I think that's a pretty good idea, because we know being in Florida or anywhere else, we get big winds, and those winds, especially if it's not anything that's securely fastened, the city can become liable for something like that. So I think that's a real good key hit. And then, like you said, it was starting May 1st. I know it was probably a short time, but this type of issue, you can't give this type of situation, it's never a short enough time, because you got to be able to act fast, because we don't want to be liable for anything. Something should come up. We know incidents happen all the time too, so I applaud the city for jumping on it real fast. And sometimes, the right thing is not the right thing, but in this case, the right thing I thought happened. So at this point in time, there's no further question. We're going to open up this item to the public, and the public can come and speak at the podium. When you come to the podium, please state your name and your address.
Name?
Your name and address.
Oh, Barry Lawson, 143 South Wimbrow Drive. Okay, understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm new to the area, so I enjoyed the dog park. The lady said all the chairs are removed because of liability. What she didn't say was they're all returned by the city 3 days later.
So, say what now?
All the chairs were removed by the city on a Monday. The chairs were taken out of the dog park.
Yes.
They were, however, returned to the dog park by the city 3 days later.
So they were taken and returned?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, they were just magically reappeared, which tends to blow out the water the liability suggestion. Okay? The biggest liability is the dogs in the park, not the chairs. So if liability is a subject, why can't you have a sign up there that says that anybody who goes into the park, they accept responsibility for anything that may happen to them, instead of heavy-handedness taking the chairs out? Taking the chairs out, I can understand, but taking the dog bowls out, I think that's disgraceful. I really do. Okay? You say people can take their own chairs in. Half the people in that dog park are walking there on strollers on walkers that can barely get in there, let alone carry their own chair. I think it's ridiculous. That's my bit.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Louise Bean. I live at 1125 Breezy Way here in Sebastian. I've been here since 2005, and 3 years ago I got a dog and bring the dog to the dog park ever since, every day. I personally don't, I bring my own chair and take it back only because I have back issues and I can't sit in your chairs, which are a liability because they have slats in them, and I have a small dog. Our small dogs jump up on our laps, they jump up on the benches. Many times we've seen the dogs where their paws go sliding in through the slats on the chairs themselves. The other issue is, besides being handicapped and trying to carry a chair, carry a jug of water, or carry water, and carry a dog bowl, which I was blown away when you took the dog bowls away. I just said, how could anybody be so cruel to have a dog park and not have water or bowls for the dog to drink? They don't drink out of a hose. They drink out of dishes. The other thing is to carry them in. And like the previous gentleman said, for us to carry them in, there's many people in with walkers. Most of us in the small dog park that I know are handicapped, and there's no way that we can do it. The benches you have there, the ones that we're able to sit on, are located in the sun. When we go to the dog park, we don't go for 1 hour. We go for 2 hours, generally. But even sitting in the hot sun for 10 minutes, at my age, I don't want to do it. And I think, you as my city should be concerned about skin cancer, especially in Florida. We need some shade there. We need decent seating that is movable. If you're worried about it blowing away, put straps on the fence or something like that we can tie them up when we leave. I'm very upset about it because this is also a community to us. I've gotten to know that whole group of people sitting over there in 3 years. They've become close friends. And what's happening now is just we're getting angry. People are not coming anymore. They're getting disgusted. Some of the people are old. They can't bring their own chairs. Like today, somebody came this afternoon, and he didn't have his chair, and the bench in the back was full. And he ended up going, well, okay, I guess I'll leave. So, what good is a park if it's not going to be used? And the other factor, too, we did have pools there because there are sand pits there. The dogs they're dirty, they get in the sand or whatever. They need to be washed off or cooled off in the summer. If you want them to play and exercise, if it's hot, they're not going to run. So if you put them in the pool, cool them off, then they'll play. And so that was the other reason for the pool being there. Thank you for listening.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sunanda Ashton. My address is 11375 Kashi Court, Sebastian 32958. Just move that. I just have a few comments on what all of you said and on what the people before me said. One of the main things that I think we were all very puzzled about was that we had absolutely no communication from this department that everything was suddenly going to be taken out of the park. We turned up at the park one day and we were like, where are all the chairs gone? They just disappeared. There was no note left by anybody to tell us why they had disappeared. So that is my first point, that was really bad communication on the part. If they were taken because someone suddenly decided they were a liability, we should have been notified and given the chance to remove the chairs. We weren't. And as someone else said, couple of days later, all the chairs were back in the park again. No notice, no nothing. And we were just sort of, oh, well, we have no idea. So we were left guessing at what had happened. Well, maybe it's the people that cut the grass. So we thought, well, we'll put all the chairs up on the concrete every time we leave so that there's nothing on the grass, if that's why. But we're guessing. We didn't know that someone had decided this was a liability issue, communication again. And then a couple of days later, all the dog bowls and dog pools that had been left there when the chairs were taken had suddenly disappeared. Again, no notice, no communication. All of us here are all taxpayers. We all live in Sebastian. We pay for these facilities, and I think that we have a right to be communicated with when changes are being made or when people are considering making changes. So that was one of the main things I wanted to say. And I understand totally if it is a liability issue. And I think that there's a really good way to get around that, which is that the city of Sebastian actually provide those things. We, like Louise said, there are a couple of benches in the park, which is great, but there's 3. On a good day, we usually have at least 20 people in the park. There's a big group of us, and we all tend to come at the same time because we know each other in both the small and the large dog park. And we do need seating. As she said, maybe I could carry in a chair and a bowl and my dog who's just nuts on the leash, But other people, a lot of people who are elderly, disabled. All they can do is get themselves in and their dog in, and we often go out to help them bring their dogs in. They can't carry chairs, they can't carry water bowls. We noticed that in the large dog park there is actually a water fountain, which is a great idea.
30 seconds, ma'am.
Sorry?
30 seconds.
Oh, I have more than 30 seconds worth. We'd like a fountain in the small dog park because that's a really great idea, and that would totally fix our whole water issue. We'd like some more benches. The grass that is in the park, most of it's turned to sand. It hasn't been reseeded. It hasn't been taken care of, so our dogs are all running around in sand, getting filthy dirty, and we have no way of washing them off. And shade, and we just feel that as we're people that actually are paying for this service, the least that we would ask is that we had some shade given, maybe some kind of a canopy that's fixed, some more benches that are fixed, maybe a table. We have one, but it's right in the sunlight. That the grass is actually looked after and seeded, and we have grass, not lots of mud for the dogs to run around in. And just that it accommodates us as people who use the dog park. And there's a really large amount of people. I say 20, that's in the summer. In the winter, it's way more than that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Armand Crushane. I live at 677 Wimbrow Drive. My wife and I bought a house here in December, and one of the real magnets for us was, in fact, a dog park. I know we've heard quite a few negative things about the park, but there's some real positive things, too. Let me go a very short list, okay? We bought the house in December 2016, in part because of the dog park in mind. It keeps people and dogs off the roads that have no sidewalks. Now, I walk with my dog, I bicycle with my dog, and I notice on one side or the other you may have a sidewalk, but oftentimes you're in a road. Thankfully, you've got good policing, and they don't drive fast, and I do appreciate that, but I'm careful with my dog, and my dog, I think, is very obedient. She's a good animal, plus like everybody else's dog in a park. That was a particular safety issue that I observed. I believe everybody here wants to resolve the problems that we're witnessing in a dog park. it is such a gem of a place. You meet people of all nationalities. You have a chance to observe dogs' behavior and how they communicate with one another. Even though the humans are there, they make their own peace with other dogs, and that's really good. And what I've observed is if a dog is out of line, the owners will in fact grab them by their collars and have them obey so they don't have fights, which is rare, by the way. I appreciate your saying that having loose articles in a dog park is a hazard during the hurricane. I hadn't thought about that, so I appreciate knowing that plastic containers or maybe even metal bowls or pails could be projectiles. I don't have a problem with people bringing in their own bowls or a bucket to water their dogs. But I'll be in conflict maybe with some of the other people that are saying, you know, that they like having the pools for the dogs. But if they don't remove them in time of a hurricane, then that takes off to the neighbors, you know, that kind of a thing. I don't have any problem with dog owners bringing in their own chairs. It's water bowls and a takeout even for, you know, doggy bags, because once in a while, especially people, if they're not observant or they can't pick up the feces, that, you know, it can be a problem. So maybe we could bring in, this may be far reach, but poop bags for their dogs as well. I try to carry extras in the vehicle with me because I know sometimes we run out of the dog park.
30 seconds, sir.
Pardon?
30 seconds remaining.
Okay. Okay, I'll close up that. One last thing. Do we want to look at something like charging people to use the dog park? I know in another state they charge $7 for half a day. You know, this would blow people's minds away, I know. I'm not saying we have to pay $7, but if the city has constraints in their budget, you know, I know it'll bring some opposition, but I want to thank you for Sebastian. We really like this place, I have to tell you. It's a great community. It's got problems like all other communities, but I don't think the dog park has to be a big problem. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
Harry Hall, 214 Joy Haven Drive. The way I understand the major problem that most of us are here about is seating, preferably in the shade, and dog bowls. Now, to get shade, a structure, additional trees, we're talking quite a sum of money. But a real quick fix would be to put maybe a dozen or so plastic chairs out there like we had before, clearly marked, city property, and a couple of dog bowls, and I think that would take care of everyone's feelings that are here tonight. I know it wouldn't mind, and I'd appreciate it if you could forward that on to the city commissioners. I know you cannot vote on that issue, but at least let them know that would be a quick fix, and I suggest that we try to put that on the city council's agenda as an agenda item for them to take action on. Of course, I'm sure they want to hear from you, the advisory board. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you. Is there okay? Come on.
My name's Deborah Schneider, and I live at 107 Mabry Street in Sebastian. I've listened to them talk, and I want to mention something that hasn't been mentioned tonight, and that is the parking. Because we have so many handicapped people, there is so little space for them to park. I think we need to improve the parking area. We need to get the people who don't use the park to not park there. There's a daycare center on Wimbrow, and plenty of times they have had cars, 4, 5, 6 cars parked in the parking lot for the dog park. We need to get things straight so we can get our handicapped people close enough so they can get there with ease. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Is there anyone else from the public who'd like to speak? Okay.
My name is Jerry Garcia. I live at 295 Wimbrow. I just want to get one question for you. There's rumor going rampant in the park that there's consideration that it's being closed. Is that true or not?
At this point in
I
time,
was told the police department were complaining so much because they were being called there so often.
That would be news to me, as on the rec board, I've not heard of anything.
Definitely. And I did
the
ditto
city
that.
would like-
Good.
So, have not heard that.
And I'm very happy with
Okay.
the park. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Don't worry about bringing in the chair, because I bring my own.
There's a portable.
All right. There you go. The suggestion box, will that be for the dog park? And where will that be?
Can you speak up, because I didn't hear the question you asked?
I'm asking about
Excuse
the
me.
suggestion box you
Excuse me
mentioned.
first, can you say your name and your address?
Jean Westwater, 9355 105th Avenue.
Yes, the suggestion box is at the dog park, and in speaking with the park supervisor, he tells me that it's on the side of the large dog area.
Okay?
It's on the fence by the sidewalk. He asked me to mention that it's where actually the Public Works employees use to enter the dog park. And it's clearly labeled suggestion box. It's got a sign at the top.
All right, thank you. I've been going to the park since 2009 when it opened. As part of the celebration we did that second year, and we've enjoyed being there, and we've been friends of the dog park. And this was a real surprise, because it's been 8 years now that it's been like this. And so without having something to tell us about the change, you know, it was a little bit irking. In my first year there that I had this, you see the bottom of this in the front?
Yes.
That was broken in the park. Before the slabs were at the openings that you come in, there was a lot of ruts and everything, and one of them slid me right into the pole. And I've also hit a little hole that happened and fell over on this once. But I'm not calling liability on that. You know, I'm in the dog park, that's what it is. But it really needs to be helped. There's been a lot of people that have been handicapped that don't come because of the roughness of getting in there. I've also lost the front wheel on this going around on the track, around the pond, and had to have that replaced. It just blew out it's so rough. And now it's even worse than it was. I tried to take my dog around there the other day, and it was just very difficult. The first part is really slanted to the side, and then the other part is just broken up. You know, it's the way it's been. So that's been a problem for me. There were some other bags there that someone made a bag to hold the bags that we brought in, and that was taken. And that was up in a tree, so I don't know exactly why that needed to go, but it did. I'm sure there's some way we could hang like a dog bowl or whatever on the fence, you know, the hook or something to get it out of the way for the lawn people. But the lawn really needs to be taken care of. I have a white dog, and he comes out of there black. every time, so he needs to be washed a lot. And it's not the best thing. So that's really all I have to say right now.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak upon this matter? Okay.
Barry Lawson, 143 South Wimborough. Excuse me. My understanding is that this dog park's been open 10 years or longer.
Say again, sir?
My understanding, this dog park has been open 10 years or longer. And all that time there was no troubles, and then suddenly the chairs, the dog balls, everything disappears. We're just wondering why now? What happened to cause this?
I can just speak. I don't know what has happened, but I can
Well,
speak.
the chair's going, the dog ball's going, the water pond going. What suddenly caused all this?
Only thing I'm saying, sir, by normal reasoning, you don't need to wait for something to happen before you make an action to do something. Because of the city, I'm pretty sure, I can't speak for the city, but I'm just saying that I feel as if the city saw a need for something and he thought about everyone as a whole, especially the nearby citizens as a whole. I think what the cities did is right because, we're in Florida.
No, I understand that, but it's such a surprise to everybody that it just suddenly happened with no warning.
Again, I apologize for that. 'Cause like I said again, it was stated earlier before anyone said anything or came to speak that May 1st was when the actual city saw a need to go into another direction to make sure the safety of the citizens were going to be affected. Not going to be affected. So as of May 1st, it was announced before anyone started speaking today by staff that a decision had to be made, and as of May 1st, going forward. So I apologize for any.
No, I understand, but where did it come from?
Well,
everything was going nice and smooth, and then suddenly, crunch. What started somebody thinking that this needs to happen?
What I can do as far as address that, I can say the next city council meeting, I think that would be a message that I think you can bring before the city council, and the city council will be able to give you, I'm pretty sure, a better answer than what we can give you right now.
Okay, because rumors fly about the police calls.
So again,
rumors are flying. The main reason is because of all the police calls. The police are sick of going there.
But you know about how rumors are. If you don't hear it firsthand, rumors almost. You can't even take a rumor. You can't even take a rumor for heart unless you hear about it and you see something. So I can say, the best remedy or solution for your question you just asked is to bring it before the city council, and the city council will be able to, they have public input, and I'm pretty sure you can be able to get your name on the public input list, and they'll be able to entertain that thought. That question will come in. We can't answer that question right now. I know I can't answer that question, but I think as a chairman, that question can be answered with the city council, for the city council.
Okay. Can we make suggestions?
No,
like the rule that everybody who goes to dog park are responsible for their own actions.
Have what now?
Everybody who goes to the dog park is responsible for their own actions. If they take a dog chair there and leave it, and if somebody else sits in it and gets injured, well, that's their fault for sitting in it.
But I can say before you go in there, before going forward with that suggestion, I think we need to adhere to the city council, the city ordinance, well, not the city ordinance, the actual signage that was put there. And I would also challenge each member also here is to go visit other dark parks, and we have one in Vero Beach and abroad to be able to see what they have there, because I know, being a resident in this city and travel a lot, and you just can't bring things and place items at parks. And I can't, I'm not trying to be defensive about anything. I'm just saying, me being a person, I'm pretty sure you travel.
I travel
just bring items and place items, their personal items that can become missile. They can become missiles.
Well, that's why I am confused, because I do travel a lot. An awful lot. And I visit a lot of parks, a lot of skateboard parks for my kid, and a lot of dog parks. And they all say that when you walk onto this property, you assume responsibility for any accidents that may happen to you. Why couldn't I have that in the dog park? And could we also do any self-policing for the chairs that fly around, the dog balls? How about putting an ordnance sign up that said, every time there's a hurricane warning posted, all chairs will be removed?
You don't have to be hurricane warnings.
And now we can remove the chairs, we can self-police, and if the chairs aren't removed, I'm quite happy with the council taking them and then disappearing. I think that's fair enough.
again, like going forward, I mean, and the time has expired, so we're going to move on. But again, that's a question I really feel as if you can bring before the city council, and I'm pretty sure it can be better addressed before the city council.
Again, thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're going to move. At this point in time, we're going to have Greg, if you have a question about this. Okay. Again, and this is going to be the last person, because once this person leaves, we're going to close this portion of the meeting, because citizen input is only for one person to speak one time. So by that being so, before you speak, ma'am, we have one person that hasn't spoke. We're going to give that person that hasn't spoken a turn to speak, we apologize, but once this person right here finished, citizen input is going to be closed. Because citizen input is for just speaking one time. You can state your name and your address, ma'am.
Yes. Hi, my name's Maureen Baxter. I live at 125 Miller Drive. And I want to say thank you very much for providing Sebastian with a wonderful place for dogs and people, first off. I also want to say that any issue that I have called the Parks and Rec person, Margarita, she has handled it immediately, and I appreciate that. She's also met with me. She also sat down and met with me, and every issue but one was resolved, and that was an issue that she needed to speak to somebody above her, and I believe that person was on vacation, and we haven't touched base since then, but I really appreciate it. Some of those issues include working on the sprinkler system, painting the benches, and the workers were very pleasant and very nice. They fixed the shade shelter that needed to be screwed in better, and I really appreciate that, so thank you. I also wanted to say, as other people have mentioned, I'm sure you're aware that the Sebastian Bark Park isn't just a dog park. It's bigger than a dog park. We have people that have a variety of disabilities and health issues that come to this park with their dogs. It's not just a place. It's become an essential part of the lives of the people that visit this park. Community and lifelong friendships have been established as added benefits of the Sebastian Bark Park. There was a number of community members that attend the park on a regular basis, but they simply were unable to sign this sheet that I have. I'm hoping I can give it to somebody that is in more detail, and will take more than 3 minutes to read. But it's basically saying, how can we help you to maintain this community treasure? We want it to stay open. I'm glad to hear that that was just a rumor, so yay. But because I want it to stay open, and whatever we can do to help that, I'd like that to happen. That would be great. Thank you for your time and this opportunity.
At this point in time, if it's not a new person that's going to speak, then we're going to close this portion of, so if there's not a new person going to speak, okay, we got the person back here. Come on. Are you finished, ma'am?
Yeah, can I hand this to somebody?
Yes, you can hand it to Marguerite there.
signatures.
Hand it to Marguerite.
Thank you very much.
You can state your name and your address.
Hamilton Edwards, 182 Easy Street here in Sebastian. I can understand completely about all the issues you've talked about liability, about flying objects, about removing all the things. It's just that there's been no mention about replacing those things with things that won't be liabilities, that won't fly around. There are no places for the dogs to drink water now. There are very few places for the people to sit. It is a park, just like Riverview Park. So we need places of shade. We need places that won't fly off, that we can sit on. Places, bowls that won't fly off and be projectiles. So there's just been no mention of that part of y'all, the city supplying those things. You've done step one of taking all those things out that were our property, but, there's been no mention of step two now. Okay? And I'd like to, hear what's going to be done on that, if there's going to be something done, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Before we go any further, is there anyone else from citizen input? I saw one. Okay. You can come up, Sonny. You come up, Sonny. Is there anyone else after Sonny? Okay, so after Sonny will be the last one.
Good evening, Jim Sonny Cab, Sebastian. As you know, my son and I run the Sebastian Bark Park website. And we get a lot of complaints and a lot of people also that tells us they enjoy the park. But some of the things I think we might be able to help you out on, like the water bowls. There used to be a galvanized pan, and it had an automatic watering thing in it. There used to be one on each side, and they took them out for some reason. But that would be a way to water the dogs if you put those back into the park. And also the fountain that's there on the dog park, the large dog park side. It's a handicapped water fountain, but a wheelchair can't get in there. So I'd like to see it maybe put on the outside. The best thing would be is to put one on the other side. And also, it's hot water. They can make it electric and have it cold water. And there's electric nearby. Because it gets hot in the dog park, especially in the summer, not only for the dogs, but people need to drink. The bathroom has cold water fountains, but that's a long ways from where the park is. Also, I think would help if we put some picnic tables, handicap picnic tables in the park. That way, handicapped people would have a place to put their wheelchairs and wouldn't have to bring a chair. Now they got a place to sit. We've only got 2 tables in the whole city, handicapped, and that's at Easy Street. And also, you know, you're not supposed to take food in the park. But if someone is, say they're a diabetic and they has to have something to eat, why not have a table on the outside of the park so they can go sit down and eat something? I think a table outside the park there would be nice too. A lot of these issues can be dealt with and make the park a great park like it is and like it has been. It's just gotten out of hand a little bit. And you know, we have rules for the park, but we have nobody to enforce the rules. So there is no rules, so to speak. Maybe if code enforcement would come in once in a while and just check on people breaking the rules, or if the dogs are vaccinated or not. Just someone watching and enforcing the rules once in a while would help a lot. Because like I said, there's rules for the park, but nobody's abiding. A lot of people's not abiding by the rules. I go to the park and see, you know, most of the people that are complaining are the ones breaking the rules.
30 seconds, then. 30 seconds.
Yeah. That's about it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sonny. And before the actual committee members speak, I have a few questions I want to talk about first. Like, Marguerite, is it something that we can do to have code enforcement to kind of like, I know it was mentioned, well, first and foremost, I would thank the public for coming up and voicing your opinion, because it is vital, and we do know every voice will be heard. Well, it's good to hear every voice. And like I said again, and every time a person speaks, it's good to hear what's happening, so we can take that feedback and then relay it back to the proper channels to make sure that if an issue is occurring, we need to make sure that they can be rectified. So I thank you all who have spoken, or the ones that wanted to speak also. But like, is there a way we can talk to code enforcement to see, like, if a car is parked for a certain amount of time, and they can put some type of citation on that car, or have that car possibly removed if it's there for a certain period of time?
Not that I know of. Staff can certainly look into it and let, you know, the committee know at the next meeting. And that's one thing I was going to suggest, is if hopefully at the next meeting we can revisit this item once we have more committee members present, possibly make a vote. In the meantime, I again urge people to please take advantage of the suggestion box. I am making a note of some of the suggestions that were brought up by the
Okay.
public, but it would be very good to start taking advantage of the suggestion box. In the meantime, if, like I said, in speaking with a Public Works Director, we agreed that depending on the number of them, depending on the feasibility of these as well, we will schedule a morning, an afternoon, whatever it may take, again, with the big disclaimer that it's not a 100% guarantee that we will accommodate all of these suggestions, but maybe in the meantime, if we can start taking advantage of this suggestion box, we will have possibly a different kind of meeting at the next Parks and Recreation meeting. But yes, definitely I will ask about the code enforcement and
Okay.
see if this is something that we possibly could do.
Okay, and then you said from June the 12th through 14, a committee is going to be going through all the parks, looking at whatever is needed for.
It's actually
Because it's
different
a-
because it's playground inspections.
Okay, so I'm saying doing that playground inspection, that's when they possibly, so, but you also mentioned the ADA, they're going to see if something is needed or something may need to be taken away?
Unfortunately, it's only relevant to the ADA accessibility of the playgrounds.
Okay,
So
so-
being that the dog park doesn't have a playground, it won't be inspected by a playground guardian.
Is that something that we can look at too? Because I know ADA has to be considered about like, I mean, ADA has to be considered at all of our facilities, right? Shouldn't it? So can we like, do I need to meet with the city attorney to be able, not city attorney, but the city manager to be able to see what can we do to get it in ADA compliance? Because I mean, ADA is all over. It's a federal act, not just a local act. So.
Well, we actually have an ADA advisory committee, or I don't know if it's advisory committee, but it's an ADA committee,
Okay.
which we had already talked about in regards to the Friendship All-Inclusive Playground. We could possibly ask, of them if they could go and visit the park and let us know if, how it is that we can comply.
Do they meet here periodically like we do? Recreation?
Actually, Frank Watanabe, I'm the city engineer. I'm on the actual staff to that committee now. It was the city manager. He changed that over, so it's going to be myself, the city engineer, and the building official will be the two staff persons on that committee.
Okay.
And these will be the items that we'll be looking at.
Okay, I mean, because that's very important on that one. They don't have like, the actual like, and then I would like to challenge everyone out there that has spoke about the bark park to go visit other parks too, because I mean, that's where you can really get to see how good our park is, or what our park is missing by visiting other parks, because being a citizen in the county, and one that travels, because I mean, I'm in the recreation field to a certain degree, and I do know that a lot of items you can't bring to a park and leave it at a park. So I mean, so that's why I say we can like, we're not, so we just visit other parks, and then we can, at our next meeting or before city council, you can go before city council and bring back some feedback that what you saw at one park that we'd like to have in our park, and then in return you can possibly come back to our meeting as well. And like, and then the bowls and the chairs, is that something that we can like, I mean, could revisit? City can see what would be needed to bring bowls in there, and then maybe, because you said the park's going to be closing at 7 p.m. or open?
The park closes, and this is something recent. They are closing the park for a couple of hours on Wednesday morning to do the maintenance at the park, replenish doggy bags, etc. Not in the evening, in the morning, and it's just to do the maintenance.
Can we like, is it possible for us to be able to like maybe bring some chairs so the other individuals won't have to bring chairs out there and bring bowls, and we can have like those things to be removed? Like at a certain period of time, we can bring them out in the morning time, then have them removed at a certain period of time. Like if we do see storms, and have someone to be roving around the park to be able to move those things. Because I know staff is probably short, but that's going to be how we'll be able to bring them out there and then have them removed.
Honestly, I would think it would have to be benches, and they would have to be city property or city-owned benches. That's something that we will definitely look into. Of course, if we're, asking people to take their chairs with them on their way home, we will look into providing possibly more benches. I've also heard, this was in phone calls that I've received, that possibly move the location of the present benches too, because I've heard that they're not necessarily under the shade. While the shade does change in the morning, you know, there's a shade in the morning that is not there in the evening, possibly look into changing the location of the benches so that they're underneath shade. Those are things that we're looking into, and again, I'll emphasize again the use of the suggestion box.
Okay. And that's all I have. But Greg, everything?
So as your Parks and Rec committee member to the public, thank you for everybody that came here. I think what we should get out of the meeting is that the city is very willing to work and make the park a usable space, understanding that whatever communication error that happened, I don't think was done in an intention manner. It wasn't done that there's a conspiracy. As the members of your Park and Rec board, we weren't aware of the issue prior to it being talked about right here, so that was not anything that we had discussed or had come up in communication between the city and the Parks and Rec committee members. So anytime that there's change and you see something that, you know, is a love and a hobby of your life and that things change, you understand the anger. But having said that, moving forward, your suggestions are all viable suggestions, and I think what's coming out of the meeting is that we will work toward finding a solution so that the park is a continued resource for everybody. There's not a conspiracy to close the park. There's not a conspiracy to make people angry. As a dog owner, I don't use the park, but I will come by and look. You know, it's been years since I took my dog in there, but that's personal choice. But I do understand some of the different needs. There should be a way to find a solution, which I think is what people are talking about. So if it's a matter of finding a way to put concrete dog bowls or something that's like a, you know, dog waiting kiddie pool of something that's in a more permanent manner, then let's look for those types of solutions, all right? But in general, I don't think anything was done in a purposeful manner to cause anybody angst or harm.
Yes, hi.
Colleen?
I really like the term a community treasure. And I appreciate hearing everyone's input on the dog park. I personally am a doggy person, and I think a lot of the suggestions I've heard are what I would call adaptable. Putting more benches, putting, let's say, heavy bowls that aren't, you know, going to go airborne and so on. I think I haven't heard anything so far that would be impossible for this city to address. And I'm going to do everything I can to call whoever has to be called and make this right. I think we need to do the right thing here. And anyway, I appreciate Ms. Hernandez doing her role and so on. And I don't think it's impossible. What I think we could do are more of the handicap spaces and so on. That's going to take some work. But generally, I don't see anything that we of Sebastian can't conquer. And that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Next item would be staff matters. Yes.
Yes, staff just wanted to notify the committee that at the May 10th City Council meeting, City Council approved for a group that's called Autism Warriors to plant a magnolia tree at Riverview Park. This tree is going to be planted. We're currently working with them as to a location, and this tree, I believe, is going to be lit up during the month of April for autism awareness.
Okay. Board or committee member matters. We start with Ms. Gilroy. It's you. You have the floor. You speak. Okay. Greg?
No, I don't have any at this time.
And again, I don't have anything other than just to thank the public, because again, it takes a lot to come up here and speak. And again, sometimes or a lot of times, we may not have the answers that the citizens are seeking. So I say the best remedy for the answers that you may have, or the questions you may have, is before City Council, because City Council meets periodically, and I think so they meet in the same location right here. And a lot of questions you have, I mean, they're very, very, very good questions. And I'm pretty sure that once you sign your name onto the roll of city council meeting for public input, I guarantee you they'll hear you because you signed up for this, to speak. So I thank you for those questions and coming forward. I have no other questions or no topics at all. The next item is going to be our next meeting date. Our next meeting date?
June 26th at 6 p.m.
June 26th? Okay. June, there's no further questions or concerns. We consider this meeting to be adjourned.